morning, everyone. So I've got the digital engineering transformation team here, and I think Stuart is somewhere in the room. All your pothole queries, please take them to them. But yeah, so today I will just be sharing a part of our journey as well towards digital transformation in the construction industry. And this is going to be underpinned by a pilot that we undertook last year in the south of KZN. So Amanda has introduced me, so I won't go too much into that. So we need to first ask ourselves, why are we all sitting in this room? And why does this matter? On the one end, we have seen that the global direction is shifting towards structured asset management and data inputs. On the other side, we need to ask ourselves as an organization what it is that we are trying to achieve. And I've put out this image of a construction site that I was on. It's a 2.4 billion rand project. And in this project, you can see that this asset is in motion, it's being built. And what we want at the end of the day is, not end of the day actually, 10 years from now, when you look for what actually transpired when you're maintaining this asset, we need to be able to retrieve that information. Now, in the current situation, all this project information is buried within files. So now if the data for this particular asset is deep in documentation, and the asset is also deep underground, how are we going to maintain it? So those are the type of questions we have to ask ourselves, and that is why we're sitting in this room here. So then from that realization, we had to think about how do we respond to this. And we formulated 4 strategic objectives, which basically guide our day-to-day work. One, which is enhance asset data capture and management, increasing the organizational awareness and buy-in. And by the way, it's beyond SANRAL. The organization is every stakeholder, every contractor, consultant who is within the value chain. Everybody is part of that organization. Buy-in is holistic. Then to leverage open innovation, which is essentially what this conversation is about. And then also establish a knowledge hub, ensuring that this knowledge that we gain becomes rich, live, and continuously gains more momentum as we perform this new pilot project. So just to touch on this idea of open innovation, we realize that we cannot build this digital twin or this digital machine alone. We cannot do it internally. It needs to be done with different experts because we have blind spots as an organization. We all do. So coming to a place like this and engaging and putting ourselves in places with consultants who are forward-thinking, academia who also has the ideas, then we can come up with something that industry can actually use and put into practice. So to now take you through to the case study. So this is located in the south of KZN, and it's an interchange design project. So the scope of works is the Kwamashu interchange with the bridges as well as the on-ramp structures. We chose this project because it was small enough, also gives us enough, it's not that big to say we have to stress and decide how to actually tackle this machine. So it also just allowed us to put our focus and resources in the right place. So then, once we chose the project, the next step was, okay, let's start speaking this ISO 19650 language and defining who's responsible for what, for which stage of information delivery. And so we started with the appointing party. Appointing party comprised of the SANRAL Digital Engineering Transformation team members. And the responsibility here was to define the information requirements and ensure that the information is clearly defined upfront. The next was the lead appointing party. In this case was N2 Consulting. And their role was to essentially translate the requirements and produce the information delivery plans and so forth. So in defining these information requirements, as an organization, we need to always stay aligned with our organizational strategy. And for SANRAL strategy, it's Horizon 2030, which is aligned to the National Development Plan. And these strategic pillars essentially guide the information that we need to make decisions about our infrastructure development. And it was built around the roads pillar, the road safety, stakeholders, mobility, as well as transformation. All decisions we make need to fit and squeeze into these strategic objectives at the end of the day. And I think that's the case for all organizations. Then, once we understood what we need to make decisions, now when we're building the asset, the asset that we're actually making, we need to then decide what should this asset be comprised of. And this image here that I've shown, again, it was a privilege for me to be on the site because I could see the type of rockfill that was here. I could see the ground conditions, whether we use geosynthetics and so forth. But for the majority of this room, you're only going to see the black stuff, the nice road where you can drive your car as fast as you can. Joking. But you're going to see the end product. But if something happens there 10 years from now, if the document or the asset information is buried in a room full of files, what are we going to do? So it was then important to then start turning this physical asset into searchable, queryable data objects. And what I've put in place here, for example, is an extract from the asset information requirements that we defined. And this is for the structures, which is the bridge on the left-hand side, showing that we need to have the asset ID. What type of asset do we have? Is it a bridge? Is it a culvert? Is it a tunnel? The drains around it, the associated works within this particular asset. So then we also need to understand where our asset is sitting. And this is also built from the TMH22, the legacy files, which we at SANRAL are also working on the research project to update these legacy manuals to ensure that we are fully aligned with this digital transformation. And you need to know where your asset is, the location, the usage, and all the quality documentation that is associated, because quality compliance also comes into the health of that asset. Now, once we are happy with this asset, we moved on to the exchange information requirements. And here it's all about getting the right information to the right person at the right time. And this comprised of what the deliverables are, the file formats, the milestones linked to the project stages for consultants in the room, the stages from A to N, prelim design, concept design, and all the sub-stages that fall within there. And then also defining the CDE workflows. And so in this EIR detail, it's also important to ensure you understand your information, fit-for-purpose information, and specify what we need at each stage. So, for example, from a road design point of view, we cannot have a road marking in the information at prelim design stage because the geometry has not yet been approved, the horizontal alignment hasn't been approved. So why are we producing that information? So therefore, it's important to define this level of information need at every given stage of the project appropriate to where we're trying to go. Then we've got the data as well as the documents. Then just to take you through the common data environment, I believe majority of people in the room would have heard this term. But its value lies not only in that it's a server of sort, but it's a place of governance. Understanding how the project information moves between the different stages, even after construction, and knowing what went in. So version control, audit trail, knowing when something was created, timestamps. Those are important aspects of the asset. And it becomes important, when things get contractual. So this also just, reduces those contractual headaches we get with DAB and so forth. In this project, we were working on the ACC construction, at Autodesk Construction Cloud, because the authoring software for the design was within the Autodesk frameworks, which made things a lot easier. So then we speak about, the files in the CDE. How do we name them? So we needed to also think about that. A structured way in that when someone reads something, they know we're talking about a road. Because sometimes, if you've been in the design space, you have Kaba L, and then design bridge, and then Amanda, there's so many different ways of naming. So that needs to be standardized and set up front before we also deal with the model. Then we had the folder structure, which is a very simplified folder structure and just puts everyone in the right frame of mind, I'd like to believe, from work in progress, from where we actually do the work, where the authoring is happening, a shared area, you know that anything in shared has been approved by someone and you're happy with the work. Published, you know the action. So then when you open a folder, your mindset is set. And then archived, you know it's also superseded. Then once we're happy with these information requirements, like I said, the appointed party then defines that. So roles and responsibilities, MIDP, and so forth was also created. Then this is just a visual overview of the workflow within the common data environment. So to close off, I just wanted to put lessons learned from there. It's important to start small and scale. There's no need to take a big project and try and build a whole BIM model from it. Start small, gain lessons, and learn. Translate what's there. Information up front is the most important, not the model at the end. Still developing. Project started in the preliminary phase, so we realized that there are some shortcomings, but it is still working. All projects take some time, as you can see there. Some of these roads, we have challenges while they are being built. It's the same thing within this asset management domain. The way forward is to continue with pilots, refine our standards, and continuously repeat and engage with everyone, such as today. So to close off, people, I thank you. We need to realize that digital engineering starts before the model. It starts with the deep information, and then from there we come to the nice model and the nice looking road, as you can see. Thank you very much.